We got to talk about one of the most egregious things I've ever heard from an NBA analyst. I mean, this is bad stuff. So ESPN First Take had a question about Giannis Antetokounmpo, and they were asking how we would view Giannis after he retires if he never wins a championship again. And Stephen A. Smith really said underachiever. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if you're going to use those words, let's use proper context with that word underachieve. When you're not meeting expectations, then yes, you didn't meet the goal that was expected of you. But when Giannis came into the NBA, he was the 15th pick in the 2013 draft, a draft that wasn't that good. Nobody knew much about Giannis. And people were saying, Giannis is skinny. He had comps to Nicholas Batum, and that was about it. Nobody saw Giannis as a top 5 player in the NBA. Nobody saw him being this good. And what happened? He gets multiple MVP awards. He makes the All-Star game 9 times. He's won the MVP, of course, the Cup MVP. He's a Finals MVP, an NBA champion. And this guy underachieved? That's insane to me. He has gone beyond the expectations that was set out for him because, again, there wasn't much that was set for Giannis Antetokounmpo. But he came into the NBA, and now he's arguably a top 3 player, or I think he's a top 3 player in the NBA now. How is that underachieving? Now, if you want to talk about championships and say, look, if you want to be in the conversations with the LeBron James, the Steph Currys, Bill Russells, Larry Bird, Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, Hakeem Olajuwon, Michael Jordan, like those guys, because they have multiple championships. If you want to be in the top 10 ever, then you got to win the second championship. That's fine. But to say the man's underachieved when we have other examples like Patrick Ewing, who was drafted first in his draft class, never won a championship because Giannis has a chip. He's got multiple MVPs. This conversation is dumb. But let's just see what Stephen A. Smith had to say here.
Stephen A., what's one word you would use to describe Giannis's career if he doesn't win another title?
Underachiever. Underachiever. I'm going to tell you why. It's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. Over the last 4 years, minimum 200 games, Giannis, second in the league, 30.4 points per game. Fifth in the league, 11.7 rebounds per game. Fifth among qualifiers at 58% from the field. And 9 All-NBA selections in his career, 9 All-Star selections, and top 10 finishes in league MVP voting 9 times. And he has more of that than postseason series wins.
It's funny how Stephen A. Smith would critique a player because here, say all these nice things about him, but didn't add one little thing that would gaslight the fan base and the people watching him. And it's like, dude, what are you doing here? Because you have all these accomplishments of Giannis. Again, remember, he was drafted 15th in the 2013 draft. And he's done all this in his career up to this point. And you talk about postseason success where the man has won a championship. Isn't that enough? It's not easy to get there. And we can't forget the Bucks were down 2-0 against the Phoenix Suns. They came back. Yes, did they have injury luck along the way against the Brooklyn Nets? You can argue the Atlanta Hawks. They still would have beat the Hawks regardless of the injuries in that series. Yeah, of course. But Giannis got hurt against Atlanta, and Middleton and Holiday had to pick up the slack. And then we get to the NBA Finals. They run the Suns off the court. I'm going to say they blew them out, but they were down 2-0 and won 4 straight. And Giannis had that fantastic Game 6 to close out the series. Now, since then, the postseason success hasn't been there. That's not all Giannis's fault. In 2022, he was phenomenal during that run. Middleton got hurt, didn't play in the second round against the Celtics. And people argued that if Middleton was playing, they might have made another run at the NBA championship and made the NBA Finals that season. And then you look at 2023, where, yes, Giannis got hurt. They were the number 1 seed. He missed the first 3 games of that series against the Heat. What happened in Game 4 and Game 5? Yes, the Bucks had 2 double-digit leads going to that fourth quarter, and Giannis was playing. You have to close those out. But again, it happens. You go get Damian Lillard. You go into the postseason against the Pacers. Both of your top 2 guys are out, Giannis and Dame. Giannis, I know he played early in that series, but he got hurt eventually. And then the Bucks are depleted, and we go to this season, and what happens against the Pacers? Dame comes back, I believe, in Game 2. He tears Achilles in Game 4. They're down 2-1. The series is over. So let's take that same scenario with a Nikola Jokic. The reason I'm bringing up Jokic is because I think he's the best player right now. He had to deal with injuries with Jamal Murray, where he was out, I believe, from 2021-22. He didn't get, I think it was 2021. He didn't get back to fully healthy until 2023. They won a championship, and Jokic hasn't been back since. Is that Jokic's fault? Should we start saying Jokic is underachieved because he's won multiple MVPs? What are we doing here? It doesn't make sense. It's just a way for ESPN and the lamestream media to gaslight people. And this is just egregious stuff.
It's unacceptable. It's not his fault. I'm not in any way pointing to him or what he's not doing. I'm saying that you don't look at somebody that dominant, that fantastic, with that kind of fire in his belly to compete on a night in, night out basis, and all you have is one championship to show for it. He's got one playoff series win in the last 4 years.
So we're bringing up dominance, but I just talked about Nikola Jokic. He's got bounced out of the second round the last 2 years. Should we just start saying Jokic has underachieved? Why don't we bring up Patrick Ewing? Why don't we bring up John Stockton and Karl Malone? They have never won a championship, period. Giannis is already better than all three of those guys at this stage of his career. At 30 years old, a guy who was super skinny when he came into the NBA. He's gotten better as he has grown his game. He shot really well from the mid-range this year. And the main talking point about Giannis is, oh, look at the last 4 years in the postseason. A lot of luck has to fall on your side. A lot of things have to go your way, with injuries being the main thing. And when you don't have your Robin, like I just talked about with Jamal Murray, you are not going to succeed in the playoffs. Those are just facts. Look at a guy like Allen Iverson. He never had a consistent second running mate. You had Dikembe Mutombo, but a second reliable scorer who was, and also what he did with the Nuggets, and they underachieved. You had Carmelo Anthony, and you couldn't figure that out. Chauncey Billups came to Denver, and they had more playoff success than Allen Iverson and Carmelo Anthony. Like, this stuff doesn't make any sense. We have to be serious when we're talking basketball and actually make some sense, because Giannis is going down as a top 15 player ever, and he has a very good opportunity to be in that top 10 if he captures a second championship. Because look at the resume. It speaks for itself. He's a two-time MVP winner, Finals MVP, 9-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA first team, 2-time All-NBA second team. I'm reading these off. NBA Defensive Player of the Year, 4-time NBA All-Defensive first team. I mean, the list goes on for this guy, but he's underachieved. Nah, bro, it's just disgusting stuff here.
Ain't his fault. He was hurt a couple of times.
Right.
Got upset by Miami, Jimmy Butler and the crew. Jimmy and them gave it to him, no doubt. But this year, Damian Lillard goes down, you lose to Indiana. We understand all of that. But to know Giannis, his career,
Okay, so what are we saying here? Because you're bringing up the injuries as a valid reason why Giannis hasn't advanced in the postseason, but somehow he's underachieved if this continues. No, the proper conversation needs to be Giannis won't be in the top 10 ever because he only has one championship. And I'm sure he's going to have a playoff opportunity where he makes a deep run. And at that point, let's just say he falls flat in the conference finals or the NBA finals. Then we can come back to the conversation about where does Giannis rank all time without using the word underachieved.
Let's transition to football for a second and think about what we talk about with Aaron Rodgers. Why do we talk about Aaron Rodgers?
100%.
Because you want.
Are we serious right now? We're comparing a quarterback that is compiled of more players to a NBA guy who has 11 other guys on his roster. And you're saying, oh, well, because they both play, I know what he's trying to do here. They both play in the same state. As Aaron Rodgers' career has progressed, we think of him differently. We're not going to think the same about Giannis. The man competes. He wants to go out there and play, and he wants to win at the highest level. He doesn't duck the smoke. Those are two different scenarios, and it's a bad comparison here.
Won one Super Bowl title in 2010, and you've never been back.
Yeah.
And consider, I mean, even when Tom Brady was at his height, even though Tom Brady was Tom Brady, we still looked at Aaron Rodgers and we said, as a phenomenal. Let's transition to football for a second and think about what we talk about with Aaron Rodgers. Why do we talk about Aaron Rodgers?
100%.
Because you won one Super Bowl title in 2010 and you've never been back.
Yeah.
And consider, I mean, even when Tom Brady was at his height, even though
Whose
Tom
fault
Brady
is
was
that?
Tom Brady, we still looked at Aaron Rodgers and we said, as a talent, this might be the greatest quarterback we've ever seen until Patrick Mahomes came along. And then we ultimately elevated our critique towards Aaron Rodgers because it's like, yo, you going home early. What's up with that? That ain't going to suffice. Well, it's applicable to Giannis or anybody else. When you're that great, a level of great achievement is expected to come along with it. That's all. And it's not, I don't think it's his
No,
fault
I
at all.
get it.
It's not his fault, but he's underachieved if he doesn't win another championship. What if he goes the next 5 years and has the same injury luck where his second best guy goes down? Are you gonna have that same energy towards Nikola Jokic if he never gets back to the NBA Finals? I don't understand the choice of words. That's my problem. If you're gonna say that Giannis can't be in the top 10 until he gets a second championship, I'm okay with that because that top 10 has guys on there with multiple championships as part of the criteria. That's fine. But if we see the next 10 years of Giannis, where he continues to dominate, average over 30 points, shoot, what was it, like 47% from the mid range, great percentage at finishing at the rim. He's getting to the playoffs. Let's say they're losing the second round of the conference finals. He brought up the fact that Aaron Rodgers never made the Super Bowl again. Do you know how hard it is to get to the Super Bowl? Like, what are we doing here? It takes 53 guys to get you there. You have to hope you have injury, especially injury luck. I mean, my goodness, health in the NFL is hard to maintain. It is not easy to manage that roster and your coaching staff. I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers doesn't deserve blame, but he's been back to an NFC Championship game. He's gone that far. Maybe not the Super Bowl, but he's been one win away from the Super Bowl. So what if Giannis makes another conference final, makes a couple of them, and doesn't get back to the finals? Are we going to hold that against him? We have to see how it all plays out. Context matters. You can't just say, "Oh, he's underachieving." Like, no, that's not true. Look at the awards he has gained in his career. He hasn't underachieved at all because of where he was when he came into the NBA and where he is right now. So when it comes to Giannis, he's got the rest of his career to figure this out. And if he doesn't win another championship because of circumstance with injury, or he decides to ride it out in Milwaukee and doesn't get the competitive roster to go out and pursue a championship, I'm not saying he's underachieving, because right now in 2025, Giannis is still recognized as a top 3 player in the NBA, and he has had some really bad injury luck in the postseason. He's been knocked out of the first round the last 3 seasons. Not all of his fault, but people still recognize him as a top 3 player. That is not underachieving. The man is great at what he does. He just needs to be in a different situation, or the Bucks need to figure out a way to put a competitive roster so he can go out and pursue a second championship. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I'd love to hear your thoughts about what Stephen A. Smith had to say about Giannis, and do you agree or disagree? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys also share the video, and I'll see you in the next one.